What's up guys, it's Drac, and I've been getting a lot of questions, comments, concerns, and queries. Alliteration aside, what is Endwar? We've been doing it so long that our perspective bias is like veterans of the hobby, is that Endwar is a big HvZ invitational with something for everybody, and we like to think that that covers all of it. For people just getting into the hobby, for people who have entered the hobby since Endwar's been around, Endwar is quite the beast to unpackage, and we want to explain the event in a way with clear definitions that anybody who's considering attending for the first time can get that information straight from the source without having to sift through a bunch of different Facebook, Discord, and comment threads. So without any more beating around the bush, we have 5 different distinctive segments to this video. We're going to library them across if you need to jump and skip, but we're going to start with a general introduction to Endwar, followed by your general loadout tips. Then we've got a section on primary blasters, a section on secondary blasters, and then most importantly, best for last, is safety and best practices. So those timestamps will be down below, but without any more talking about it, let's crack right into it. Endwar is effectively a large-scale invitational game of humans versus zombies. Humans versus zombies is effectively a campus-wide game of tag between 2 factions, the human side and the zombie side. But an invitational means that anybody is welcome to attend. Our invitational covers 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, with a little bit of something for everybody, and the primary draw is an HvZ game on an incredible college campus run by college and veteran moderators alike. It's zombie tag, baby. Humans have blasters and try and tag zombies. Tagging zombies stuns them temporarily. The zombies are trying to tag the humans, and just like in Walking Dead, if a zombie gets his meaty undead paws on you, you are now part of, some would say, the winning team, but ultimately the zombie faction. Traditionally, this represents a permanent flip for the remainder of gameplay where you will play as a zombie, attempting to get all of your buddies who manage to evade the zombies to join you on that side of battle. So you set your equipment down, you lay your blasters down, and you go into the manual mode of tagging. There are a ton of different versions and exceptions where you have super zombies that have been pulled from the worlds of Call of Duty, Left 4 Dead, all sorts of ways to give the zombies perks and power-ups. You have lots of different limitations and restrictions on the human squad. You would think that over the last 15 years of playing this game, as Nerf blasters have gotten better and better and better, that the humans would have gotten completely overpowered. But it turns out that the core fundamentals of the game, the delicious survival IRL roleplay scenario, remains tried and true and tons of fun. It does not matter how expensive, fast, or foam-flinging your blaster is. If you're not checking your corners, somebody's going to come up and give you a big ol' hug. A zombie hug. Welcome to the Horde. So effectively, the human role is to try and be the resistance and survive until the very end of gameplay, keeping your humanity intact by tagging zombies to temporarily stun them. The zombie role is oh so simple. Tag all of the humans. Remove them from gameplay as humans, make them zombies. You can see it's a little exponential. The more zombies there are, the harder it is for the humans. And the role of moderators, such as yours truly and my incredible volunteer staff, is to make sure that that needle tilts at a fair pace of play so that if humans win, they feel like they earned it. And if zombies win, it happens at a reasonable time frame within the game so that we all get to enjoy the delicious apocalypse as long as possible. Those are the primary roles: humans, zombies, and moderators. That's game makers, game drivers, and survivors. Ultimately, we are all out to have a good time, play safe. Safety starts with you and me. The most important safety rule is that Endwar has established a standard for what close engagement. You can imagine if somebody's running towards you to tag you, you're going to be firing upon them at relatively close distances. You tend to shoot zombies up close. That's because they're trying to get as close to you as possible and you're trying to stun them. We've set the FPS limit. That's feet per second that dart at muzzle velocity exhibits at a hard cap of 130. That means when you chronograph your blaster, you need to come in under 130 consistently over 3 or more shots. If you go over 130, you made something too powerful for the game. The balance of the game requires trust on both sides. Nobody wants to be getting whipped with darts at 200 FPS 10 feet away. It's just not fun for everybody. We highly advocate eye protection, but the 130 FPS threshold was designed to fit in as many campus cultures as possible, giving humans plenty of room to play with the latest new blasters, old classics, different ammo types, but while making sure that everybody is having a fun, safe time getting through the game No welts, no bruises, no nonsense. You shouldn't be jumping on anybody. You shouldn't be tackling anybody. A light tag, a two-hand touch is pretty easy. Now I get it, running full tilt trying to catch an adult who is very fast. If you are moving at top speed, your touch is a graze, and that you're touching people in parts of their body that they are comfortable being touched. I.e., let's stick to like waist, shoulders, upper arms, good places, maybe an ankle grab if you're coming around a door frame or out from underneath a bush, just something safe. With the objective being you're trying to tag them and make them as effective a zombie player as you possibly can. And if you both roll down a flight of cement stairs, that's not good for either side. Use your best practices, be as safe as possible. We have lots of different safety precautions at various different college campuses, and every college campus has different heat maps and accident zones that we try to avoid as best we can, but that'll all be explained at the game in your safety briefing, which you will take as a player of either side before gameplay begins. That's classic HvZ. Over the years, various invitationals and growth of different games has led to skinning HvZ. So if you ever see an HvZ game where it's clear that they're doing like a Disney World theme or something along that line, it's because for the average Endwar player, they've played so many games of classic, the zombies are zombies, the humans are humans, and scientists and soldiers, and they are trying to do battle, that we end up putting some fun on it, some flavor. Ultimately, humans versus zombies as a culture has always kind of had that silly college vibe. Like, if you're not sprinting full speed down a multi-billion-dollar university quad in a grass skirt and a bandeau, pretending that you're Princess Moana, I think that you missed the ultimate fun of HvZ, which is letting go of some of those adult pressures, frequently the ones that you experience in college life, exams, bad professors, athletic struggles, etc., and just being a goofy zombie. That is Humans vs. Zombies in a nutshell. Let's move into general loadout tips. So I get it, human lad or lass, it's your first HvZ and you need loadout tips. You need to know what to carry into battle so that you can do damage to the hordes of the undead. Well, boy howdy, do I have a deal for you. Zombies in our universe are taggable, stunnable creatures that remarkably look a lot like you, me, and the people you came with. They will stop chasing you for a predetermined period of time if you tag them with either a foam-fleeing implement or a sock grenade. Originally in the game, blasters were actually worse than socks. These days, socks have become the tried and true special ammo type where maybe you need to stun a tank, a special class of zombie, or maybe your blaster jammed and you just don't know what to do. You should always have one or two of these suckers on you because throwing a sock, nothing special about it, no rubber bands, no tape. These make excellent HvZ sock grenades. They are pretty good. But throwing one of those will stun your zombie. You should always have one or two of those on you. You need to know what to pack, and the answer is a good set of running shoes because HvZ is, first and foremost, a game of tag. Running faster than your opponent in either category while maintaining all of your gear. And gear is kind of what we're talking about. So, you have your standard nerfy implements from the big guns to your tried and true classics. Something manual, something electric, depends on your preference in play, and various games will have different rules, limitations, and factors on them. As a general rule of thumb, I like to mix a secondary and a primary in my loadout. Don't carry too much stuff. You are not the Fallout guy. You do not have an infinite inventory. Anything you take onto the campus, you are gonna have to carry around. So I like to have one and one, a primary and a secondary, and I usually like to mix them. If my primary is a Springer, then I want my secondary to be automatic or electric in some way, and vice versa. If I'm using an electronic blaster for my primary, a Springer secondary, something highly reliable, is up my alley. You're gonna need a way to carry all of these things. You're gonna want a good amount of float or variety in your loadout, and frankly, half the fun is that you don't have to play with the same thing every time. You can constantly be changing it up. This is a great loadout that happens to work akimbo. This is an equally great loadout. You will play completely differently with these than you would something like this or maybe even this. You're gonna have to get it from the start of the mission to the end of the mission while evading zombies and tagging the ones that are quick enough to capture you. And I highly recommend our dump pouch. This is a good way to keep campus clean. This is available on our site. But ultimately, you throw this on your belt, you have a quick thing with an easy drawstring. This cinches up like so to keep all of your goodies trapped inside, and it opens up just as easy so that if you're packing up darts along the way, trying to keep the campus clean, or you just need a way to store a dozen of these things, you have a dump pouch for all of your items and accessories. It's got a very handsome logo on the front and also the female Velcro so that you can slap your morale patch on there. I like to use bandoliers, I like battle belts for magazines, I like chest rigs for various things. There's a lot of different ways to carry your gear. Just make sure, field test whatever you're doing beforehand, get comfortable, adjust your straps, tape your gear into place. Good gear is great. Gear that fits you is better than better gear, period. Like, you want your stuff to fit, you want to be comfortable with it, you want it to be comfortable with you. That means no chafing, no scratching, etc. I think that ways to secure your gear to your body, a good loadout that you're pretty familiar with, darts that are compatible with your squad or at least that you know will be plentiful, and in the modern HvZ era, you can pretty reliably count on finding rifle rounds, half-length and full-length 50 cal darts scattered around your field of battle. But keep in mind that the zombies are going to be picking them up too. They're going to be keeping the campus clean, and you might have to wait until that mission restart to get a reload. Those are my general loadout tips. Let's move on to blaster specifics. All right, so we'll start at the meat. We'll get to the potatoes later. The meat is, of course, your primary blaster, your premier foam flinger, your steadfast companion in the field of fiery combat, and that's going to be your primary. You start the mission with it in your hands. You are planning on doing the majority of your legwork with it. It's usually something with high capacity for HvZ. Capacity and reliability tend to matter way more than anything else. Overall FPS, overall rate of fire, fall before the might of. It definitely delivers a dart downrange. It has plenty of darts to deliver downrange, so that if you happen to be fleeing from more zombies than you're used to handling, you can pop a couple, retreat, pop a couple more, retreat, etc. without having to reload, which is frequently when humans get tagged. A lot. Anyway, your primary needs to be an ammo type that you're comfortable with and have plenty of. It's got to have a good onboard storage or the ability to rapidly reload. For a very long time, the Strife has been the primary of choice for many a human player. This is another extremely popular choice for people who want omnidirectional ammo, and the fact that it is a large onboard capacity in a rival form factor, plus being manual, no muss, no fuss, no batteries, is pretty easy. A recent year's addition would be the Villainator. The Villainator just holds a ton of darts. You can reload it on the fly and off the ground because the drum is largely exposed. There's a lot of good things about this. And then, of course, the classic from the golden age of HvZ would be the Raider. Pay no attention to the fact that this is the elite version. This bad boy came with a 35-round drum, and that delivered the hits. You could also tape a cannon power shot into the drum and get really crummy POV footage in the middle of the night running around jumping through bushes. But your primary needs to fit you, it needs to fit your play style, it needs to be charged if it's electronic, it needs to be something that you're comfortable manually priming a lot if it's manual, it needs to be something really familiar to you, that you've got good muscle memory on your reloads and a high capacity of ammo either on your body or built in. Obviously, some of the rival powerhouses really solved the, well, I'll never have to reload if I just have 120 rounds built in. Now, if that information covers a primary, then why did I just pick up a Strife to talk about secondaries? Believe it or not, the Strife is also the most popular secondary for a long period of play. And why is that? Well, because it's the perfect accompaniment to a lot of the more popular Springer blasters. I touched earlier on how in my personal loadouts, I like to have a good blend between electric and manual. And that's just because various different rule sets reward those two play styles differently, sometimes even placing limitations on the electric blasters. So the Strife is a very popular secondary, as is the brand new Nightingale, just because they're electric blasters that deliver the hits. But my personal favorite, time and time again, has always been a solid revolver. It used to be a Maverick, then it was a Spectre. As the Spectre fell out of fashion, it became strong arms, but nothing is as good as the hammer shot, in my opinion. I'm a little old school in that way, but the ability to manually prime with one hand means that I was always able to draw and fire and reload while also being able to get socks out so that if I happened to miss here, I could throw a sock with my offhand. This wound up being a pretty deadly, like, emergency, oh no, situation for me to get away from at least one zombie. Now, that's not to say it'll always be only one zombie. Again, that's why a one-hand wieldable, an akimbo setup would be pretty fun. Now, as a personal challenge, I've definitely run dual hammer shots before. I do not recommend the underarm sling just because you're gonna wind up with some pretty sweaty hammer shots by the time you've run a few miles across campus. A story for another time. Your secondary should be reliable, it should be familiar, it should be all of the things that your primary is. There is terrific merit to it sharing an ammo type with your primary so that you could reload them against one another. However, if you're playing in a game where you think that differing ammo types will do different things, then there's a lot of merit to your secondary firing large ammo. So I've seen people use cyclone shocks because Mega Darts or Mega XL are rewarded in their various gameplays against various supers. And in that case, no matter how reliable you are with your regular 50 cal foam flinger, if it can't tag a tank, you're going to need something to bring that bad boy down. Know your rule set, read it in advance, listen to your safety briefings, talk to your moderators, and be familiar with a variety of different blasters so that when push comes to shove, you can pick your loadout and tailor it to various different games. Endwar tends to be a pretty simple game due to the invitational nature, lots of players from different places. We try and keep it as accessible as possible, and in that sense, most of our supers are sock determinate because everybody should have socks. We'd prefer if you didn't use the ones on your feet, but I've never seen it. So, you know, you could be the first. You just want your sidearm to be something that you can draw quickly and fire at zombies with relative ease and accuracy. And as opposed to your primary where reliability is very important, in your secondary reliability is the single most important thing. Something that's guaranteed going to fire out of the holster or the backpack or wherever you happen to be storing it. I think that for a sidearm to be super effective, it needs to be on a sling near your dominant hand or on a holster, either cross draw or dominant side. In the wise words of somebody who knows way more than me on the subject, remember, switching to your pistol is always faster than reloading your primary. Rounding it out with our most popular subject, we need to talk about safety and best practices. So, our final category just touches on the things that make sure that completely outside of like traditional gameplay mechanics and rules and regulations, that you have a great time at HvZ Endwar and you leave healthier than you showed up. And it's going to boil down to some choices that you make long before you ever get into the car, board the plane, buy the ticket, take the ride. And ultimately, that comes down to wearing clothing that fits you well, that you're comfortable in. This is not the time to break in new running shoes. This is not the time to go get a new set of Army Navy surplus combat boots. You need to wear shoes that you are very comfortable in. Think theme park, like something closed-toed, that you are good for like 10 miles in. Regardless of whether or not you walk, run, or crawl those 10 miles, you want to be in something pretty comfortable. Once you got your dogs locked down and squared away, you're going to want to focus on the rest of you, which is to say lightweight, athletic attire that fits you right. Good ventilation, good breathability. You want to make sure that if you're doing any sort of athletic activity, you're wearing the right kind of athletic clothes. As tempting as it can be to think that you want to be your favorite video game character, and admittedly, some of these themes lend themselves very well to cosplay, make sure that your cosplay does not affect your personal performance. If you're a track star, wear whatever you want. Go in a full jungle outfit. I think that there's just a lot of merit in wearing something that fits you well and breathes, because you're gonna want to be breathing at the end of every mission. However, other things are, it's hot. It's hot in summer in America in general, but regardless of whether you're playing at the lovely UNCC campus, which is hot and humid, or elsewhere. This video applies to all sorts of invitationals. It's just a general HvZ primer. If you're playing in the summer, you need to be packing sunscreen. A classic HvZ mantra is hydrate or dihydrate. You need to be drinking water not just day of, not just morning of, not just during the missions, but leading up to the event, you want to make sure that your entire body is hydrated, your cells are good to go, you're ready for a day of sweating and foam flinging fun. General rule of thumb, I'm talking hydrate with water. H2O, regular water. Gatorade is great, sports drinks are fun, energy drinks are awesome, but I am reminded of the National Park Service when they were like, you need to be drinking water, it's really hot out there. And somebody was like, but National Park Service, what if I'm built different? And that leads to one of the best tweets I've ever seen in my life, which is the National Park Service quoting, what if I'm built different? And writing, you're not. You are a human being on planet Earth, and you're gonna need it. In addition to pre-gaming your hydration, it is a good idea to have something on your person that you're comfortable with, carrying throughout the day. Highly recommend. Some of the best HvZ players I've ever had the pleasure of playing with do the camelback strategy. They've got a lightweight camelback, usually a runner's camelback. It holds maybe a liter, but that 1 liter makes a huge difference. It doesn't weigh a ton. It actually weighs just over 2 pounds. All the same, you are going to want to have some water on you in some form or fashion. Way back in the day, the Foam Blast girls used to give away a little portable hydration flask pouch thing. one of the best giveaways I've ever seen at FoamCon. Really loved it. A little bit of hydration goes a long way. It's going to keep you up on your feet, running around, playing as hard as you can, either human or zombie mode. Finally, our last safety and best practice is that every year at the end of Endwar, I give Chicken a whole blaster bin of magazines and darts and bandanas and silly stuff that people leave behind because they were too proud or too cool to write their name on it. Before you even put it in the car, scribble your name, scribble your initials, put your phone number on it. Just anything. My moderators do a great job of cleaning the campus. They do a great job of cleaning the community spaces that we occupy. And at the end of it, I have a bin with everybody's stuff in it. And if you put your name on it, I'm going to do my best job between myself and my staff and my volunteers to get it back to you. Ideally before the end of the event, between missions, but ultimately we can get it back to you even after the event, but we can only do that if you labeled it properly. So, scribble your name, scribble your information, put your Discord handle on your gear, something cool so that we can get it back to you. Those are my best practices. Dress comfortably, hydrate early and often, label your stuff, and then I guess, don't come alone. Bring some friends with you. Everything is more fun with friends. The buddy system is going to make you safer to, from, and during the entire event. I can't tell you how many times over the many years we've been doing this that we have to pause play to find a lost little brother. Stick with your squad, stay with your people. If you're younger and somebody in your squad goes zombie, it might be a good idea to plant your last stand and go zombie with them, just so that you guys can stick together, keep track of your people, and we'll keep track of all of you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it helps in your journey to Endwar or whatever invitational you might be looking forward to. And as always, I really appreciate your time. I hope that this was a good debriefing on what you can expect from a major Humans vs. Zombies invitational. And if you're unfamiliar with Humans vs. Zombies, a good primer on what to expect and the level of fun, friendly, and silly you've just gotten yourself into. Much love, blast on, Drac out.